Can I ask you something that might completely change the way you think about staying healthy after 60? What if the exercise you have been told to do your entire life, the one that feels safe, familiar, and easy, is actually not enough to protect your muscles, your balance, your brain, or your independence as you age? And what if the one type of exercise that could genuinely add years to your life, reduce your risk of falling, keep your heart strong, and preserve the strength that lets you live on your own terms, is the very exercise most people over 60 have been quietly avoiding because they think it is not for them anymore? Most older adults believe that gentle walking, a little stretching, maybe some light yoga, is all their body needs and all their body can handle. And while movement of any kind is always better than none, the truth that most doctors never sit down and fully explain is this: after the age of 60, one specific type of exercise becomes more important for your long-term survival and independence than almost any other health intervention available, including many medications. That exercise is strength training. And before you decide that phrase is not meant for you, stay with me, because what you are about to hear may be the most important health information you have encountered in years. Stay until the end, because what comes next could change how you age forever. If you want simple health and longevity tips every week, subscribe and turn on notifications. It only takes 2 seconds. To understand why strength training becomes so critical after 60, you need to understand something that happens inside your body so gradually and so quietly that most people do not notice it until it has already taken something significant from them. Starting in your mid-30s, the human body begins losing muscle mass. The medical term for this is sarcopenia, which simply means the loss of muscle that comes with aging. In your 30s and 40s, this process is slow enough to be almost invisible. You might notice you are not quite as strong as you once were, that carrying groceries feels slightly more effortful, that recovering from a long day takes a little longer. But life is busy, and these small signals are easy to dismiss. After 60, the rate of muscle loss accelerates. Without intervention, most adults lose between 3 and 8% of their muscle mass every decade. And after 70, that rate increases further. Think of your muscles as the engine of your body, not just for lifting things or moving furniture, but for everything. Your muscles regulate your metabolism, meaning they determine how efficiently your body burns energy. They support your joints, protecting your knees, hips, and spine from the stress of everyday movement. They are responsible for your balance, because balance is not primarily a function of your inner ear or your coordination. It is a function of how quickly and powerfully your muscles can respond when your body shifts unexpectedly. This is why falls become so much more common and so much more dangerous after 60, not simply because reflexes slow down, but because the muscles that should respond in the split second between a stumble and a fall are no longer strong enough or fast enough to catch you. And a fall at 70 is not the same as a fall at 40. It can mean a broken hip, a hospital stay, a period of rehabilitation, and for many older adults, it marks the beginning of a loss of independence that they never fully recover from. But here is what most doctors never fully explain, and this is the part that genuinely changes things. Muscle loss is not inevitable. It is not simply what aging looks like. It is what aging looks like without the right stimulus. And the right stimulus, the one that research has confirmed repeatedly and consistently, is the most effective tool available for preserving and even rebuilding muscle after 60 is strength training. When you perform resistance exercise, you create a specific signal in your muscle fibers. That signal tells your body to repair, rebuild, and reinforce those fibers. In younger adults, this process happens quickly and efficiently. In older adults, it happens more slowly, but it absolutely still happens. Studies have shown that adults in their 70s, 80s, and even 90s who begin structured strength training programs can build measurable muscle mass, improve balance, reduce fall risk, increase bone density, and dramatically improve their quality of life. The body does not stop responding to exercise because of age. It simply needs a more deliberate and consistent invitation, and the benefits extend far beyond muscles. Strength training improves cardiovascular health by reducing blood pressure and improving how efficiently the heart pumps blood. It supports brain health by increasing blood flow to the brain and stimulating the production of brain-derived neurotrophic factor. Think of this as a fertilizer for brain cells that supports memory, mood, and cognitive sharpness. It improves insulin sensitivity, meaning the body manages blood sugar more efficiently. It strengthens bones, reducing the risk of osteoporosis. And growing research suggests that maintaining muscle mass is one of the strongest predictors of longevity, not just living longer, but living independently and with vitality for more of those years. Let me tell you about Eleanor Bassett. Eleanor is 67 years old, a retired florist from a small coastal town in Devon, England. She is a warm, sociable woman who had always stayed reasonably active. She walked her dog every morning, tended her garden with genuine dedication, and considered herself someone who did not sit still. By her own assessment, she was doing well for her age. But privately, Eleanor was frightened. Her balance had been declining for 2 years, and she knew it. She had stumbled 3 times in the past 18 months, once on the garden path, once coming down her stairs, once simply stepping off a curb. She had not fallen fully, but the near misses had left her shaken in a way she struggled to describe. She had started avoiding situations that felt uncertain, uneven ground, unfamiliar stairs, busy shops where people moved unpredictably around her. She had started staying home more. She told her daughter that she was fine. What she told her GP during an unusually candid appointment was that she was terrified of falling, terrified of what it would mean, terrified of losing the independence that defined her sense of self. Eleanor's GP referred her to a physiotherapist who specialized in older adult exercise, and what Eleanor expected was gentle balance work and some light stretching. What she was introduced to was a structured strength training program, 2 sessions per week using resistance bands and her own body weight, progressing carefully and consistently over several months. Eleanor was skeptical. She told her physiotherapist plainly that she was not the kind of person who lifted weights. Her physiotherapist smiled and told her she was about to discover that she was exactly that kind of person. Within 6 weeks, Eleanor noticed that getting up from her armchair, something that had been requiring more effort than she wanted to admit, felt easier. Within 3 months, her walking pace had increased noticeably, and her dog walks had lengthened from 20 minutes to 35. At her 6-month review, her physiotherapist measured her grip strength, her leg press capacity, and her balance using a standard assessment. Her balance score had improved by 31%. Her blood pressure, which had been sitting at 148/88, had come down to 134/80 without any medication change. She had lost 4 kilograms, mostly from the metabolic improvement that comes with increased muscle mass. But the measurement that meant the most to Eleanor was one that did not appear on any chart. She walked her dog along the coastal path again, a route she had quietly abandoned 2 years earlier because the uneven ground frightened her. She walked the whole thing. She told her physiotherapist afterwards, "I didn't realize how small my world had become. I thought I was adapting to aging. I was actually just giving up, bit by bit." Let's address the fears directly, because they are real and they are common, and dismissing them without acknowledgement does not serve anyone. The most persistent belief among adults over 60 about strength training is simply this: it is not for people my age. It is for young people, for athletes, for people at the gym who already look like they know what they are doing. I am too old. My joints are too unreliable. I might hurt myself. Walking is enough for me. These beliefs are understandable. They come from decades of cultural messaging that associated weight training with youth, performance, and a world that did not include people in their 60s and 70s. But they are contradicted comprehensively by the scientific evidence. Research published in journals including the Journal of the American Medical Association, the British Journal of Sports Medicine, and The Lancet has consistently demonstrated that progressive resistance training in adults over 60, including those with arthritis, osteoporosis, previous joint injuries, and cardiovascular conditions, is not only safe when appropriately supervised, but is associated with reduced pain, improved function, and lower rates of adverse events compared to sedentary aging. The myth that walking is enough deserves particular attention because walking is genuinely valuable and should not be abandoned. But walking is primarily a cardiovascular exercise. It does relatively little to preserve muscle mass, improve balance through strengthening the specific stabilizing muscles that prevent falls, or maintain the bone density that protects against fractures. A person who walks 45 minutes every day but does no resistance exercise is still losing muscle mass at the rate that aging imposes. They are staying cardiovascularly active while their structural foundation quietly erodes. And the belief that exercise is dangerous for older adults gets it exactly backwards. The danger, the genuine, measurable, well-documented danger, is not exercise. It is the loss of muscle, balance, and bone density that comes from not exercising. Frailty is dangerous. Falls are dangerous. Loss of independence is dangerous. Strength training, approached correctly and progressed carefully, is one of the most powerful risk reduction strategies available to any adult over 60. Aging does not automatically mean becoming weak. It means becoming someone who needs a more deliberate strategy to stay strong, and now you have one. Here is exactly how to begin a strength training program after 60, not in vague terms, but with the specific guidance that makes it genuinely achievable, safe, and effective. Start with 2 sessions per week, with at least 1 full rest day between sessions. This frequency is enough to stimulate meaningful muscle adaptation and improvement while giving your body adequate time to recover, which takes longer in older adults than in younger ones, and that is completely normal and must be respected. As you become stronger and more comfortable over 8 to 12 weeks, you can consider moving to 3 sessions per week. But 2 sessions done consistently will produce significant and measurable results. Each session should last between 30 and 45 minutes, not including a 5-minute warm-up at the beginning and a 5-minute cool-down stretch at the end. The warm-up is not optional. Cold muscles and connective tissue in older adults are more vulnerable to strain, and simply marching in place, doing gentle arm circles, and performing a few slow bodyweight squats before beginning your exercises meaningfully reduces injury risk. The exercises themselves should focus on the large muscle groups that matter most for daily function and fall prevention: the legs, the core, and the upper body. A simple but highly effective starting routine for someone new to strength training after 60 includes chair-assisted squats, where you lower yourself toward a sturdy chair and stand back up without fully sitting. This directly trains the muscles used to get up from any seated position. It includes wall push-ups, which build upper body and shoulder strength without placing excessive load on the wrists or shoulders. It includes seated leg raises, which strengthen the hip flexors and lower abdominals that support balance. And it includes resistance band rows, which strengthen the muscles of the upper back that tend to weaken with age and contribute to the forward-stooped posture many older adults develop. For repetitions, begin with one set of 8 to 10 repetitions of each exercise. This is deliberately conservative. After 2 to 3 weeks, progress to 2 sets of 10. After another 3 to 4 weeks, progress to 3 sets of 10 to 12. When 3 sets of 12 feel manageable without significant effort, it is time to add a small amount of resistance, a slightly heavier resistance band, or holding light hand weights during the squats. Safety is the non-negotiable foundation of everything. Always move slowly and with control. The temptation to rush through repetitions should be resisted because controlled movement both reduces injury risk and makes the exercise more effective. Never hold your breath during an exercise. Breathe out on the effort and breathe in on the return. If you experience sharp pain at any point, stop. Muscle fatigue and mild discomfort are normal and expected. Sharp, sudden, or joint-specific pain is not, and it is a signal to stop, rest, and consult your doctor or physiotherapist before continuing. If you have significant mobility limitations, all of the exercises described above can be modified to be performed seated. Chair-based strength training is a genuinely effective starting point and is not a lesser version of the program. It is the right version for where you are right now, and it will build the foundation to progress from there. Tell me in the comments if you currently do any strength training and how often. I read every response, and your experience helps everyone watching. Let me share one more story, because this person's experience speaks to something different, a quieter kind of struggle that many of you may recognize more personally than Eleanor's. James Kowalski is 72 years old, a retired electrician from a small town in rural Poland who immigrated to the United Kingdom in his 40s. James is a private man, not given to talking about his feelings or his health, and for 2 years he had been managing a secret that was beginning to define his daily life. He could not carry his groceries from the car to his flat on the second floor without stopping halfway up the stairs to catch his breath and rest his legs. He had started ordering groceries for delivery rather than going to the supermarket himself, telling his daughter it was simply more convenient. It was not more convenient. He was ashamed of how weak he had become, and he did not know how to say so. James had mild hypertension managed with medication, some discomfort in his knees that had been attributed to age-related wear, and a resting heart rate his GP had noted was slightly elevated at 84 beats per minute. He had been told to exercise more, given a leaflet about walking, and sent home. The leaflet had not told him how to rebuild the specific strength he had lost. A community health program connected James with a group-based strength training class designed specifically for older adults, held twice weekly at a local leisure center. James attended because his daughter insisted. He sat at the back for the first session and did half the movements, certain he was going to injure himself. 12 weeks later, James was carrying his groceries up his stairs without stopping. His resting heart rate had come down to 74. His knee discomfort, which his physiotherapist explained was being amplified by weak quadriceps, the muscles at the front of the thigh that normally absorb load from the knee joint, had reduced noticeably as those muscles strengthened. He had lost 3 kilograms, and he was no longer ordering his groceries for delivery. James said very little about all of this to anyone, but to the program coordinator at the end of his 12th session, he said quietly, "I thought that part of my life was finished. I am glad I was wrong." Here is a complete picture of what a day built around healthy aging and strength training can look like. Not a rigid prescription, but a realistic and achievable template. Begin your morning with 5 minutes of gentle movement before you get out of bed properly. Ankle circles, gentle knee bends, shoulder rolls. This prepares your joints for the load of standing and moving, which matters more in the morning when the body has been still for hours. Follow with a glass of water, because overnight dehydration is common in older adults and affects both energy and joint comfort. If today is one of your 2 or 3 strength training days, the ideal time for your session is mid-morning, roughly 10 to 11 o'clock for most people. This is when body temperature has risen sufficiently for optimal muscle function, but before the fatigue of a full day has accumulated. Your session of 30 to 45 minutes, including warm-up and cool-down, fits cleanly into a morning without dominating it. Breakfast before your session should be light but include protein. A boiled egg, some Greek yogurt, or a small portion of oats with nuts. Protein before exercise gives your muscles the building blocks they need immediately after training. After your session and after a proper breakfast or mid-morning snack, a gentle 15 to 20-minute walk complements your strength work beautifully. The walk supports cardiovascular health and helps circulation clear the metabolic byproducts of exercise from your muscles, reducing the next day soreness that beginners sometimes experience. If you feel tired in the early afternoon, and many older adults do, particularly in the first few weeks of a new exercise program, a 20-minute rest without fully sleeping is restorative rather than counterproductive. Your body is adapting, and rest is part of that process. Evenings should be calm. Avoid screen stimulation within an hour of your intended sleep time. A consistent bedtime between 9:30 and 10:30 supports the overnight muscle repair and hormonal recovery that makes your strength training sessions actually work. Sleep is not separate from exercise results. It is the time when the exercise does its most important work. If you need more recovery time on certain days, that is not failure. It is your body asking for what it needs. Listen to it. A few important considerations before we close, because individual circumstances matter greatly and deserve honest acknowledgement. If you have been diagnosed with moderate to severe arthritis, please do not use this as a reason to avoid strength training, but do use it as a reason to begin with qualified guidance. A physiotherapist or exercise specialist with experience in older adults can adapt any exercise to work around arthritic joints rather than through them. Strengthening the muscles around an arthritic joint almost always reduces the pain and load on that joint over time. If you have heart disease, have had a cardiac event, or are taking blood pressure medication, speak with your cardiologist before beginning a strength training program. For the vast majority of cardiac patients, appropriately supervised resistance exercise is safe and beneficial. But the starting point and progression need to account for your specific cardiac history, and your doctor needs to be part of that conversation. If you have diabetes, strength training is particularly valuable because of its powerful effect on blood sugar regulation and insulin sensitivity. However, exercise can affect blood sugar levels, and your monitoring routine may need adjustment as your activity level changes. Discuss this with your diabetes care team before starting. If you have had a recent fall, a fracture, or a joint replacement, work with your physiotherapist to establish what is safe for you before beginning independent exercise. Your rehabilitation team can design a program that builds strength safely within the constraints of your recovery. Talk to your personal doctor before starting any new exercise program. This is not a formality. It is care for your individual situation. This information is not dangerous for most people, but your doctor needs to know. Here is the simplest version of everything you have just learned. After 60, the loss of muscle mass, balance, and strength that most people accept as inevitable is not inevitable. It is the result of an absent stimulus, the specific type of exercise that tells your body to rebuild and maintain what age is trying to take away. Strength training, done twice a week, progressed gradually, and performed safely, is the single most powerful intervention available for preserving your independence, protecting you from falls, strengthening your heart, sharpening your mind, and adding not just years to your life, but life to your years. Eleanor Bassett's world had become small without her realizing it. 2 sessions a week gave it back to her, path by coastal path. James Kowalski was hiding a struggle he did not have the words for. 12 weeks of showing up changed what he was capable of, quietly, completely, without fanfare. Your story is not finished. Your body is not done responding. The capacity to grow stronger, to move with more confidence, to reclaim the energy and independence that aging has been quietly borrowing, that capacity is still yours. Your body is ready to respond. It just needed the right information. If this video helped you today, please give it a like and share it with someone over 60 who is ready to stop accepting weakness as inevitable. Subscribe for more honest, practical, healthy aging guidance every week. And leave a comment below. Tell me whether you have tried strength training, or tell me what is holding you back. This community is here, and your voice matters. This video is for informational and educational purposes only. Always consult your personal doctor before starting any new exercise program or making changes to your health routine.